Hey, what's up guys? This is Jesse. Just wanted to talk to you today about something I've been thinking a lot about lately, and it's the fact that we oftentimes attribute different effects in our life to the wrong causes. And it can be something that can really derail us for a significant period of time unless we're cognizant enough of what's going on to really dig in and get to the root of whatever the effect is that we're seeing. Now this can go for positive effects we're experiencing, like if something is really working out in our lives, digging down to find out why it's working well so we can do it again, do it more. But it also goes the other direction for things that maybe aren't working out so well in our lives, and we start digging in to figure out why that's happening, maybe even repeatedly, and get to the bottom of it so we can stop doing whatever it is that's causing that to happen. And one perfect example of that is sort of the interconnected way that our health affects our performance at work. With whatever we're doing. In fact, this goes way beyond starting and building a company. If you've even got a job of pretty much any kind, this is going to come into play. So a few examples of it. Number one would be hydration. And hydration is linked in so many different ways to how well you're able to perform with the work that you're doing. It affects memory, it affects it can even cause confusion if you're dehydrated, lack of ability to think clearly. So obviously doing things like drinking too much coffee, drinking too much alcohol, not drinking enough water in general, these things all can directly affect your performance with what you're doing for a living. Another example would be exercise. Exercise obviously increases your cardiovascular health and improves your circulation, which improves endurance, allows you to be able to have more energy longer. And if you're trying to do something especially intense, especially if you're trying to do something intense like start and build a company, you're going to want to have as much energy and endurance as you possibly can. So little things like this, things that might seem little, can actually have a pretty significant impact on your ability to be successful with whatever goal it is you're working towards. I know one particular example in my life that I experienced a couple of years ago was when I was working on building VIP and sort of taking it to the next level. When you build a company, there are different phases you go through, and the way you do things from 0 to 100,000 is not the same way you can do things from maybe 100 to 500,000. You got to shift again if you want to get past the million mark and then to the 10 million mark and so on. So it basically requires you to reinvent yourself and work toward new levels of sophistication and everything else. And one of the things I discovered is that I went through a period of time where I was incredibly down all the time. Didn't really know why, but it was like a big black cloud was over my head, and I just couldn't seem to get it to go away no matter what I tried. And so I started buying books and courses and all this kind of stuff about happiness to figure out and really get to the bottom of what was causing me to feel this way. And really I had very little reason to be unhappy. A lot of things in my life were going pretty well, so it didn't make any sense. But I happened to be at a nutritionist for a totally unrelated reason, and I did a blood test. And this nutritionist that I went to had a software system that would basically outline all the different vitamin levels and different things that are going on in your body to help you know what you needed to do to improve and maintain great health. And when the report came back, he looked at me and he said, "Dude, your vitamin D levels are out of control. They're like really, really low. Like at an unhealthy level, they're very low." And I said, "Wow, well, what does that mean?" He said, "Well, have you felt depressed lately or anything like that?" "Yeah." He said, "Well, here you go. That's why." So he put me on this vitamin D supplement, and within a matter of days, I felt like a totally new man, which ultimately meant I was happier. I was probably more likable by potential and existing clients with them, and more confident and everything else because that black cloud had moved away, and I was a happy dude again. Now the reason turns out had nothing to do with the way I was thinking or anything like that, which it sometimes would, but in this particular case it had everything to do with the status of my health, and particularly my vitamin D levels. So you never really can you always want to dig down and make sure that the causes you're attributing to the effects in your life are accurate. And one of the best ways to do that is to start with your health and just make sure you're optimizing that part of your life so that you can ultimately optimize your performance in your work, especially if you're doing something really intense that requires above average amounts of energy and endurance, like starting and building a company from scratch. So hopefully this is helpful. If you have any thoughts on it, I'm definitely not a doctor or an expert in these types of things. I'm just telling you what I've learned from experience and from studying this stuff a little bit. I'd love to hear your thoughts and any experiences you've had related to this in the comment section right down there. Feel free to share this on your page if you like, and I'll talk to you soon.